G'day plant friends and avocado enthusiasts, and welcome back to Scott Grows an Avocado Tree. I'm going to start this video with an unboxing, and hopefully we're going to finish with harvesting some produce. Let's get to it. I want to grow potatoes, but as you can see, I don't really have the space at the moment, either in containers or in the soil. But the kind folk over at Spider Farms got in contact with me. They asked me, Scott, would you like to do a review of one of our grow lights? And I said to them, sure, I'll make a video on that. So we're going to be test driving one of those over the next few months to grow some potatoes indoors. So let's get unboxing. So I'm just going to very carefully open him up. Now let's see what we've got. So I'm going to slide it out. It looks very well packed actually, which is good. So let's open it up. All right, so we've got everything out of the box. We've got some Spider Farmer SF Series Grow Lights user manual, which will be very helpful for me because I want to use them correctly. And then if we take, it's just kind of puzzle pieces there. We'll take that apart. And okay, we've got some components. Let's see what we've got here. So I'll take it all off and we'll see what exactly we have. So I've got this lighting panel. Oh, interesting. Okay, so we've got we've got a few different bits and pieces, and I've never worked with a grow light like this before. I've got a few LEDs. They're very small and they're pretty easy to work with. This is more than I was expecting, which is great. Hello, Agnes. So we've got some Ethernet cables. I'm not sure if they're going to be necessary, but we've also got some cables to suspend it. It's not too heavy, so I'm very confident that my shelving will do the job. So it might just stay on the shelving for now. We will see how we go when we get in there. I better read the manual. Please don't, Magnus. No. Please don't chew them. Okay, so the Ethernet cable. So we've got some Ethernet ports on the light itself. And that's so that we can run them in series. So we can run multiple grow lights using the same, just using one as kind of the main one. So you don't have to fiddle with all of the lights individually. I've just got one, so I'm not going to need to worry about that. So I've read the instructions. I have the light ready to go. So I'm going to get the lighting set up in the shed. I need to collect a couple more bits of equipment. So I need to get something to put the potatoes in. So I'm going to get a few large tubs. I think that's probably going to be the cheapest option. I'll just drill some holes in there, and the lids should be nice, some nice little sources to catch any of that overflow. I also need some soil or some potting mix. I'll throw probably some fertilizer in there as well. And I think that should do it. Probably some extension leads so I can reach the outlets, because I don't have many outlets in the shed. That's all good. Let's go to Bunnings. So my plan is to grow them in this corner here. So you can see we've got some kayaks. We're about to redesign our garage here. So we don't get any natural light here. So all of the light we're gonna need to use some grow lights for. So I'm gonna put the tubs at the bottom. I'm then going to put a frame from inside a greenhouse, which will then support the light, which will then shine on it, and we should get some lovely potatoes.
Next, I needed to prepare my containers to put the potatoes in, and potatoes don't like to be sitting in water, and so it was really important for me to make some drainage holes, and to do that I just drilled some holes in the bottom of the containers. I put quite a few in because they are large containers.
Alright, so I should have probably measured the tubs before I got them. We're not quite fitting 3 under it, as you can see behind me. I've got kind of this one sitting here. But I'm still pretty confident we're going to be able to grow. So we're really going to see how wide this grow light will reach. If it's just going to be effective directly underneath, or if it's going to cover a bit more of a wider area. I'm going to fill these guys with my soil now. I was meant to put the sauces down first. Let's get those. Oops. I'm gonna use the lids for the tubs to catch any water. So these are just kind of big saucers because I don't want to flood the shed. So I'm gonna slide these under now, ideally before they're full of soil. They've only got 25 litres at the moment, so they shouldn't be too heavy. We should be able to make that work. I should just slide them in. We can keep going now, they're in.
To enhance the nutrition of the soil, I am adding some dynamic lifter into my potting mix.
Just gonna throw some more fertilizer on top, dig it through a little bit, and then we'll add the potatoes. Alrighty, I'm ready to plant my potatoes now. I'm gonna try and fit 4 in each container, so kind of in each corner. And we'll see how that goes. So I've got 5 varieties, and I'll just kind of spread them out a little bit. They're all in. I'm going to water them now. I'm going to use a worm tea mixture, and I'm just going to slowly water them until I start noticing water coming out the bottom. I don't want to go beyond that because I don't want the sauces to overfill. That's all good. Let's get to that. I'm just starting to notice the water start to drip out the bottom. Hasn't spilled over, which is great. And so I'm not going to water them anymore for now. I'll keep an eye on their moisture levels and water them when they need it. It's now time to install my light. So I'm going to try and hang it from this. We'll see how we go. So I'm going to set that out now. I think to start with, I'm going to hang these. So it's giving me a lot of length. So ideally it would go from a roof, but I don't have a rafter right above where this is going, so we are not going to be doing that. That's all right though. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to try seeing if the carabiner will go on here. It's not. That's okay. That's not a problem. Instead then, we will put this carabiner over like that. And that will be fine. We'll do the same over here. I've got a lot of extra rope though, so I'm just going to tie that off because at the moment if I put weight on this, it's just going to fall. So I will tie these at a height that I am happy with, and then we will be great to go. So I really want it pretty high, I think. So now we're going to attach the cables to each corner of the grow light. And so nice and easily they are attached like that. Now all that's left to do is to attach that to the carabiners, turn it on and set it up. And that's hanging. So now I just need to attach it to power and we'll set it up. We are hooked up now, we can turn it on. So the on switch is on this side. There's another switch on the other side, that's for the dimmer. I'm gonna see what it's like without the dimmer first. Oh, okay. I don't think I'll need the dimmer at all. That's looking good. Now, it tells me not to look at the lights directly with the naked eye, so I'm not, but that's looking pretty good. And now, we wait.
So after setting it up, it was time to wait. I watered every few days, and over the next few months, they grew.
It's been about 10 weeks since I
I started these potatoes now. It's partway through January, and I just had a look. The plants themselves are looking pretty good, got great root systems, but we don't have a lot of potatoes just yet. So we're gonna wait a little longer. I was hoping to harvest some new potatoes, so some young potatoes. They're smaller, but they're still good to go. But we don't have any just yet. That's okay, so we'll wait for them to mature a little more. We're getting some flowers. We've got quite a good height. I've raised the light a little bit because it was starting to get a little bit close to the plants. It's really thick in there, which is causing me a little bit of concern, but because I'm watering directly onto the soil, I think we should be able to avoid most of those fungal problems, which we can see with nightshades. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I think we'll be okay. I've fertilized, and we're just gonna keep waiting.
After another couple of months of regular watering, it was time to harvest, so I stopped watering for a couple of weeks to let the soil and the potatoes dry out. This also partially killed off a lot of the plants, which was fine, and it was time to harvest.
It is now the start of April. It's autumn here in Australia, as you can probably tell by the state of my tomatoes behind me, and these potatoes. These have started dying off. So over the last little while, I've watched them flower. I checked, weren't any potatoes, so I'll wait a little bit longer. Checked, I could find some potatoes in there, and so then I just let them, their flowers die. I didn't water them for a week, so that they dried out, and now they are properly dying. It's time to harvest some potatoes. So it's been about 5 months, and I am thrilled to see what we could grow indoors under grow lights. Let's get harvesting. So I've got my gloves on, and I'm going to take out these. Oh, so some potatoes are attached, which is fantastic. I've got a couple of potatoes there, which is great. I'm just going to set these aside, and because I've not watered for a week, there's pretty well no water in the actual soil, so these are already pretty dry, which means that it's not going to take very long to preserve these or store them, dry them, prepare them for storage, which is great. So I'm just going to put these to the side, and I'm going to throw the rest of the plant to the other side. There's quite a bit of fungus, and I should have probably predicted that. Because I've planted these out so thickly, I have encountered some fungal problems. So it looks like, I'm not sure if it's blight or powdery mildew, but in a moist environment with, you know, water, thickly growing plants, very dense, no airflow, you're going to have those fungal problems, which is something I'm learning about. So I'm just going to dig in here and see if I find any other potatoes. Nope, not there. So out of this bucket, I got 4 reasonably small potatoes, which is not the conversion rate I was going for. Oh, sorry, 5. This one is extremely small though. I'll have a bit more of a dig, and then we'll have a, oh, okay, I'm finding a few more, but they are very, very small. I'm gonna have a bit more of a dig. I'll cut to in a moment when we're having a look at some of the other buckets. I'm now on to the next one. This one has got a bit more plant above the soil, so I think I should probably get a few more potatoes out of this one. Okay, there's nothing on that one, but they might still be under the ground, so okay. So far I haven't found anything, so I'm gonna do some digging. I hope I get something. Okay, so I have no potatoes in this bin. Now, I think that's interesting because this one was the one which was furthest away from being directly under the grow light. So this one received the least amount of light, and it's clearly had an effect because I have no potatoes in this bin anymore. Okay, we'll do the next one, which I'm feeling the most confident about. You can see it's got a lot of growth. This one was the one which received the most light. So I'm gonna start by taking off this excess. You can see it's all white and powdery because of the either powdery mildew or blight. I'm not sure which fungal problem we're receiving there. And I wanna not breathe that in actually. I've got quite a bit of dust there. Okay, no potatoes there, no potatoes there. Oh, some baby potatoes growing. That one could have potentially gone for a bit longer then. I found a potato. It's little, and I'm gonna just keep digging, see if I find anything, but it's not looking great. I'm gonna see how deep I need to go. That one could have grown a bit longer. Well, I found a couple of very, very small potatoes in this bin. Let's think about what we learned. So let's reflect and think about what went well and what didn't go well. So I was able to grow some potatoes. So great, the lights worked, I was able to grow potatoes indoors, but I wasn't able to grow many. You know, I ended up with less mass at the end than I had at the start. So I grew 12 potatoes, I ended up with less than 12 potatoes, and each of those potatoes was smaller than the seed potatoes which I planted. So it's not ideal, but I have grown potatoes indoors. So those potatoes were grown from plants which were grown under lights indoors. Now, I reckon if I were to do this again, I could achieve a better result. Now, what have I learned? So I've learned a few things, and there's a few things that I'll do differently. The first one is to have less potatoes in each container. So I had 3 containers to try and have as much soil as I could, and I really wanted to maximize the number of plants that I had in each of those ones. So I had 4 in each container, and that was just far too much. I think that instead of having 4, I probably could have had 1, maybe 2. And saying maybe 2, that's really hesitant maybe. I think that might have been too much. So 1 in each container, under more light. So if I were to do this again, less potatoes in each container, and I would probably, for one grow light, I would have just 1 container, so it's directly above it. It's able to grow comfortably, it's able to spread out in the pot, and it's going to be avoiding lots of the problems that we saw. One of the problems of having so many potatoes in those containers was that the foliage was so dense. You know, we have lots of problems when we have super dense foliage in these, especially these quick growing plants, is that there's going to be a competition for light, and we saw that they're kind of growing all over each other. They're trying to put out as much growth so that they can get that light. If they're getting shaded, they're going to keep going. It's going to be a problem, and that's just going to compound the problem. You're just going to get more thicker foliage as it attempts to produce more leaves which are in direct view of the light, which is a problem here, especially because we're growing them indoors. So I'm growing my potatoes in a room that gets very little airflow, and I'm watering the potatoes because they need it. It's hot, especially in the summer, and you go through that, they're using that water, and so there's a constant supply of water in the soil. They are transpiring that moisture through their leaves, and again, there's no wind or airflow taking that moisture away, so it's really humid right around those leaves. Lots of dark spaces as well, because whilst the lights are really powerful and there's a lot of light available, not all of it is accessible to the plants because they're trying to grow over each other to get to the light. It's going to produce perfect opportunities for fungus to grow, which is what we saw. And that's also going to affect the crop that we produce. Now, it's okay to eat potatoes that have some fungal infections, not on the potato itself, but on the plant, you know, on the leaves, like powdery mildew and blight. It's okay, it's not helpful for the plant though. It's going to really impact its ability to grow potatoes because it's going to be continually trying to grow new tissue, fight off this fungal infection that is able to effectively turn light into energy, which it's really tricky to do. So less potatoes in each container, less containers for each grow light. You know, what we saw was that the one that was mostly under the light, it had potatoes. The ones that were not directly under the light, they still received light, they still had a lot of growth, but they didn't produce the potatoes. And so, less potatoes in each container directly under a light, and I think that might be a run for the future. Am I going to do this again with potatoes? Probably not. I think that it's better to do this with potatoes in the ground, but it can be done. Am I going to use the grow light in the future? Yes, I really appreciated using this grow light. It's not one that I will usually buy myself, but the Spider Farmer grow light, it did the job. The faults of this experience were my own and not of the lights. I used a timer on the light, that was my own timer, to turn it on and off at different times of day. I had the intensity up pretty high. I know that I can turn that down if I need to. I didn't need to with this one. And I do think that if I had more grow lights, so Spider Farmers, if you would like to send me more, you know, we could get them going in series and we might be able to grow more potatoes. But it was a good light. Would I recommend growing potatoes with it? No, I don't think you should do that.
but I could see how it might be useful in other situations because I ended up with less potatoes than I started with, and I had to, you know, pay for electricity for the light to be running for 4 months, 5 months. As they did that. So thank you very much for watching this video. Spider Farmers, thanks for sending me your light for review. I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't use it for potatoes like I did. But it was a good learning experience for me, and I thank you for affording me that. And if you would like to see more of my videos, mostly avocado content on this channel, occasionally something a bit different when the opportunity presents itself, please do consider subscribing to Scott Grows and Avocado Tree. I'd love to know what you thought about this video in the comments below. If you can think of another reason why my potatoes didn't grow. I have grown potatoes in the past, successfully, but not indoors. If you have grown potatoes indoors, I especially would like to hear from you. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree.